Well, we're going to go back to the Guardian well for another news drop about a potentially drastic change to football in North America, certainly as we know it. You probably know him on social media, on X in particular, as MLS ist. It's Pablo Iglesias Maurer with The Guardian now, and his report was about, pardon me, some potentially huge changes to the way Major League Soccer decides its champion. Things about ditching the conferences and going to a 5-division setup, a playoff format that is reminiscent heavily of Australian rules football with double eliminations and seeded byes. There's a lot, and I highly recommend you check out the proposal, which I know Gareth and Alex have already done. So top level and as deep as you want to go, Alex, what do you think of MLS in this potentially rather significant shakeup?
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpick, so we could go on for a lot. What I will say is some of the changes, there's some good, but as has been often the case with MLS and some of its decisions when it comes to competition, there's some bad. And I think what's unfortunate about this is that the bad is quite jarring. It stands out. For me, 20 teams right away in the playoffs is far too much in a 30-team league. 20 teams in the playoffs. Like, at this point, what are you doing here? You're doing a 34-game schedule to eliminate 30% of the field, and you're starting the playoffs with just over
33.33333.
That's it. You got 66% of the field. Like, great. What was that? Those 8 months and 34 games and all that for? So that immediately stands out. But if you look at the divisions, there's a lot to like about that, because then you're still getting your regional matchups. You're still getting your rivalries. From the Canadian perspective, I imagine the Whitecaps will be with their Cascadia brethren. Toronto and Montreal are going to be together, so we're going to still get the derby twice a year. Now with the way the league set up, we'll actually probably see teams playing everyone else again, because with that setup, they'll play their regional division twice, and then they'll be able to play everyone else once. So there are some good change with that, and even the playoff structure itself. I don't mind double elimination because it kind of makes it relevant where you finish, which helps. The problem that MLS has is that their regular season doesn't matter right now. But then they throw that out the window by inviting 20 teams. It makes the MLS Cup redundant, because if a team that finishes 20th wins it, then what's the point of competing at the top end and pushing? So I have a big issue with the amount of teams MLS is letting in, because their playoffs are always great. Every year I'm going to sit down and watch it and enjoy it, and I haven't seen a bad postseason. But when you continue to devalue the regular season product, that's a huge issue, because I think that's what they should be focusing on, selling more and filling stadiums more and making it more incentivizing for players and fans to care about those games.
I'll save the division talk just for a moment, but I think what's good here is that it seems like everything's on the table with a new commissioner coming in. And I think that common sense needs to prevail in some of the decision making, and the push to make every game matter as much as possible is paramount here. Like, it cannot be ignored, because there's so many games that it's just unclear whether the game matters or not. You've heard it from players, them saying that's the biggest difference playing in MLS compared to other leagues, whether in South America or in European football as well. I'll echo AGR's sentiments. 20 teams is far too many. Like, if you want to go with this kind of bracket, you could go 1 through 16 and things would be way more straightforward. 16 is still a lot, but I understand. I can meet in the middle here, understanding that's typically how, NBA, NHL have their playoffs, 16 teams, right? I mean, NBA has even gone further with the playing games, but I think that soccer is just like a different animal, and you don't need to go that many. Even Major League Baseball has expanded their playoffs beyond recognition as well, which I'd be very critical of. The thing that I do like about it is that it'll be the top 20, I guess, or the top teams in terms of point total, and they'll wash the divisions just in terms of, ensuring that teams with a lower point total get into the playoffs just because of by virtue of what conference or what division they play in. That's nonsensical for me. And I love the double jeopardy as well, where it'll give the better chance, the better teams a better chance of advancing deeper, because things kind of come out in the wash where the top team will inevitably advance longer in the competition. So I think if they can like eliminate the desire to include too many and just focus on the structure, where I actually think there are some good ideas there. It might take a little bit more explaining, but if you're ending up seeing best on best, or the best teams go longer in the playoffs, I think that will attract more eyeballs, more attention, and inevitably create a better product in the end. What is abundantly clear, Adam, is the status quo can't continue. This MLS format in recent years, no matter the tinkering, has not worked. And potentially this provides a pathway to a better outcome. And that's what should be the focus here.
It's just fascinating to me on how so many people who follow and cover MLS have so many complaints about complexity, whether it's GAM and TAM and making it so difficult for the average supporter to follow it. If you need a spreadsheet to basically explain how your playoffs are going to work, it's great for someone who, like me, who loves Microsoft Excel and follow the charts and the lines. That's fabulous. But if you're trying to explain that, or I'm trying to explain that to my partner if she wants to watch and follow along with Vancouver TFC, you got to balance the casual and the diehard. And there's some more. I'll quickly go through some more of the points. This is proposed to go along with the change in calendar from fall to spring in 2027, 2028. So they're potentially looking at 20 teams in the playoffs, regardless of your division. The top 20 go to the postseason. Bottom 8 have a play-in round, joining the winners from there, and that's where the double elimination kicks in.
That's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
And if you have to explain it, like, let me get the projector and the laser pointer out. You start going into points about top 8 teams would get their direct into the double elimination, et cetera, et cetera. It would take some time, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. But big picture, Gareth, I think what is interesting, this is a new era for MLS. Everybody understands that with the players coming in and the change in the schedule. I'm wondering if you have any concerns that this amount of change and overhaul might be alienating some supporters.
Well, I don't think that MLS really cares about that right now, because sweeping changes are coming whether they like it or not. Like, the biggest consequential change that MLS is going through is changing their calendar. Like, I'm still pessimistic on what this means for every Northern market team. You are asking people to go out and change the way that they consume the product entirely. It goes from hey, it's a nice summer night, I want to get out and have something to do with my friends and my family, let's go out and watch some soccer, to, wow, you want me to go out and sit in what weather to consume this product? Like, that is a huge habitual change for people. I do think that there's some good that can come from it, but overall, I think that it could really reflect negatively on butts and seats. And inevitably, that's what matters so much to so many of these teams. I'll also say the other proposed change, which is creating new divisions within Major League Soccer, and then playing an unbalanced schedule. That one really worries me. 30 teams is a lot. Like, I feel like MLS is overstretched. It wouldn't surprise me if they move things out to 32 teams. That just seems like the natural evolution. But where will they stop? What worries me in a point system where you are eliminating divisions and their importance, and then creating a playoff format where the teams with the highest point totals then qualify for the playoffs. Well, if you don't have a balanced schedule, you're rewarding teams potentially that play in a softer, weaker division. That doesn't really make any sense to me. The beauty of football across the world is teams generally play a balanced schedule. So at the end of the day, the regular season, you understand who is the best of the best, and you understand who is the worst of the worst. But then if you don't balance the schedule, so if you're playing teams within your division twice and other teams once, I don't think you're really getting a clear picture of who is best. It's a criticism that I have in NHL and other leagues as well. If you really want to determine who's the best, then you have to play a balanced schedule. Anything else for me just doesn't result in an equitable table that really reveals just who's the best and who isn't at the end of the day. It's more circumstantial about your schedule and who you play and who you might avoid rather than anything else. So that would concern me moving forward if I was MLS and proposing a new idea about potential new divisions within this league.
Let's say that's an even bigger problem already now, because you don't even play half the other teams in the other conference.
Right.
It's been years since the Whitecaps have played some of those Eastern teams. Like, there's a great 1v2 battle in Nashville and Whitecaps, and they're not going to play it all to this year. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of where I stand with MLS. I think this is the challenge they face going forward, is just figuring out who they want to be and what their goal is. Because I think sometimes that's what makes it so hard to follow all this, is that there's these contrasting ideas of, look, there's a lot of priority being put into improving the product on the field, right? That's why they're changing the calendar, because in theory it's going to attract better players. But then they haven't taken the handbrake off, so to speak, in terms of roster rules. Okay, you want to improve the product on the field, give teams more flexibility to spend money freely and build better teams and attract more stars and not have to count their dimes and dollars in GAM and TAM to fit in a backup left back. You want a better product on the field, make that simpler. So there's a bit of a contrast there. You want a better product on the field, regular season matters. Part of the reason that, the people tune into the top leagues and the top games is that you can tune in to a October Premier League game or a January Serie A game, and that game is probably going to matter because that team is fighting relegation or pushing for a title, or if they drop 3 points, it's going to have a huge consequence in the season. The reality is you can tune in to a Wednesday August game in MLS and it doesn't matter. You win, okay, you're still all right. You're probably going to make the playoffs. If you lose, whatever. That's a big problem. If you want to get fans tuned into the product, it has to matter. And they haven't incentivized that with these changes. So for me, I think they really have to sit down and figure out what kind of league do you want to be? Because if you want to be a butts and seats league, well, like you mentioned, Wheels, moving away from this calendar shift kind of hurts that. So, okay, you want to be a league that plays good football, attracts global interest, gets people watching. Well, then act like a league that wants to be a top 5 league in the world, because there's the potential there. People want to come play in MLS, top stars. I'm sure if they were offered money and it was comparable, I'm sure a lot of them would be choosing North America over the Saudi league and some of these other leagues that are attracting top talent by throwing big bags of money. But MLS has to set themselves up so that they can operate like that. We've seen it in recent years with some of the stars coming over, and that could be just the tip of the iceberg. So I think this is going to be crucial to MLS to figure out how they can get that competition balance right so that people can tune into this league regularly and for it to grow to the level that it can be, because it's getting close. And I think that's why some of these changes are still frustrating. It kind of gives the old era of MLS when it feels like they're ready to step into a new age.
The times are always a-changing in Major League Soccer. We'll continue to keep our eyes and ears to the ground for more updates and radical proposal. This is my favorite radicals, Gareth and Alec. Thanks for joining us on One Soccer Direct.